Ladies and gentlemen, for one of the best sports podcasts in the business, subscribe on YouTube to Shaky's Sports Journeys.
Hi and welcome to Shaky Sports Journeys. Another boxing episode for you today. I love my boxing. Always have loved my boxing. To get the chance to speak to such high-level boxers is always a pleasure. Joined today by British light middleweight title holder. This gentleman also won the prize fighter tournament as well. I'm joined today by Arron Jones, and for everyone out there, he would have been known as Prince Arron Jones during his boxing career. How you doing, my friend?
I'm very well, Shaky. Like I say, it's been a long time coming, but I'm very happy to be here now and talk to you, mate.
Yeah, we engaged over social media probably well over a month, leading to probably closer to 2 months now. But then me being struck with COVID, something coming up here and there, and it's been a bit of a delay, but we're here now, and I'm looking forward to chatting. So let's kick off with the first question, Prince. How did that come about?
Prince was a name given to me by my first professional trainer. Goes by the name of Wayne Barker. So basically, I went to him at a young age, probably 15, 16-year-old. Had quite a few amateur fights. And then we decided to turn pro at a young age. I mean, me being very hungry. It's something what I wanted to do, really. So I decided to turn pro at 18. But my real name is Arron Jones, which is obviously very basic. You know, it's not an eye-catching name or anything like that. So this name just come about, really. He started calling me Prince, and everyone in the gym started calling me Prince, and it's just a name what kind of stuck. And then obviously when I turned pro, I mean, we didn't think it would get accepted, really, you know, at the Boxing Board of Control. You know, who's this Prince guy? Do you know what I mean? It's a kind of name that someone would probably question. But, you know, it got accepted, and, you know, it's a name what just obviously stuck from about 15 to 16-year-old. And, you know, we kind of carried it on, and it just stayed. But, you know, people still today call me Prince. So it's never going away, mate.
Listen, I'm a fan of the name. Obviously, I was a big fan of Prince Naseem Hamed. So it's good to see the name continuing on. The coach obviously seen some Prince qualities in you, mate, and the rest is history. So good to hear the backstory on it. Tell me a wee bit more about where you grew up. A little bit more about your family background and a bit more about your childhood, mate. Yeah,
mate. So I grew up, still about 10-year-old in a place called Moston. I don't know if you know the gym there, Moston and Collyhurst, which Pat Barrett now actually trains his fighters out of.
Okay, I've not heard of that one, but yeah.
It's a top-class gym, obviously, in Manchester, called Moston and Collyhurst. Well, I grew up in Moston, really, which is just around the corner from the gym. Quite a rough area, council estate, you know, typical council estate. Not much going on. Obviously, kids, as you do, you know, we didn't have mobile phones or laptops or anything like that back in them days. So it was kind of, what do you do with yourself? It was just hanging around in the streets, playing football, toy fighting, all that kind of stuff. So it was your typical council estate. Which is where I grew up. Then I moved to a place which is just down the road, about 5 or 10 minutes from here, called Droylsden, which is kind of the same setup, you know, council estate. Again, not much going on for the kids and stuff like that, and hanging around the streets and all that kind of stuff. So obviously, you know, you get into things from being a young age, really. But that's kind of how my childhood went. You know, we had gangs of lads knocking around the streets and things like that. You know, we played football, you know, we was toy fighting, you know, eventually got into stealing cars, which, you know, we'll talk about a bit later on. But yeah, so it was just your typical council estate. What do you do with yourself, hanging around the streets? Kind of typical growing up, really.
Yeah, so I get where you're coming from, you know, that it's boring as kids. You know,
it is, mate. Yeah,
you need to find something to do, and you know, when a group of lads get together, and all come from a similar background. There's going to be some stuff that you're going to get up to, and we'll touch on that a bit more. Boxing, you mentioned 15, 16. Is that the kind of first time you walked into a gym then, and how did that come about?
Well, to be honest, Shaker, it was when I was about 7-year-old when the actual time I went into the gym, and that was as I said before, I went into Moston and Collier's gym where I first grew up in Moston. So I actually stepped into that gym when I was about, I think it's 7 or 8 year old, and that's the first time I actually walked into a gym. Okay. And there was a fighter. He was actually fighting at the time called Pat Barrett. I don't know, you would have heard of him.
I've heard the name.
Yeah, top class fighter, European champion. I think he fought for a world title. He was actually fighting at the time when I was training there, but that's the first time I ever walked into a gym. But at that age, it was kind of, you was in and out of the gym. Do you know what I mean? You're not obviously consistent every day going and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, the first time I remember, I've got a good memory. And the first time I went, they actually put me in sparring with, the other lads. And the guy was like to me, "Have you been here before, haven't you?" I said, "I've never been here before." I said, "Are you sure?" So from that day, he pretty much telling me, I've got a bit of something about me here. I've got, the general foundations, the basics and all that kind of stuff. So it kind of started from there, really. But that was the first time I ever stepped into a gym when I was about 7 or 8 year old. But just going back to when I was 15 or 16, that's when I actually got back into it and took it seriously from then. So from the age of like 7, 8, 9, didn't actually go back into another gym, boxing gym as such, till I was around about 15 year old.
You mentioned some troubles and some stuff that you got involved in. What was that around your late teenage years?
Yeah. So basically, probably just when I left school. Obviously, at that age, you're a bit confused. You don't know what you're going to do with your life, especially if you've obviously had the upbringing that I've had, and you've not got good qualifications, or you come from the place where we've been brought up. It's kind of you've got to do everything yourself. But obviously, being around that situation, you get caught up with the other people who are in the same situation. So you kind of tag along with them people, and then people, they become your friends. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we used to steal cars. We stole cars. I've been arrested a couple of times. I mean, nothing much more from there, which it could have, but obviously boxing saved me at one point. But yeah, we kind of were stealing cars, hanging around the street, just doing general misbehaviour things, what you shouldn't have been doing, really.
Easily done though, mate. When you're in that crowd at that age,
yeah,
I can understand why a lot of young people get kind of swallowed up by the system and the area that they're from. And like you say, you're one of the lucky ones, because I'd imagine you must have some mates from back in the day that continued on down that path and probably got themselves into some serious bother along the way. Oh yeah,
100%. I mean, back then, I mean, just touch on what we were saying before about not being able to do things. To do things, you need money. You can't go to the cinema now, 20, 30 quid. Yeah. I mean, back then when we was, 17, 16, 15, you need money to do things. And I didn't have that kind of money. My mum didn't have that kind of money. What else are you supposed to do? Mm. It's a difficult situation, but obviously you find yourself caught up in that stuff, and it's good at the time, but luckily for me, I found boxing, and it kind of made me realize what do I want to do here, and then you realize what's right and from what's wrong, and then you kind of distance yourself from that kind of stuff. But yeah, it could have went wrong, mate. It could have went really wrong, but luckily I've got I had a few marbles in my head, and I knew what was right and from wrong, so I managed to get into the boxing, and it kind of, it saved me, if you like to say.
So you're in the gym, 15, 16 years old. Yeah. Your head is now down. You're probably at a crossroad point where you're thinking, shit, if I'm not careful, I'm going to end up going down a route that I've realised is not the route that I want to go. So talk to me about some of your early success, some of your early fights. and the dedication that you were having to show? How often were you training? Talk to me about it.
Yeah, so I just want to, sorry, Sheikh, just go back to the last time, the last time I got arrested.
Yep.
My old boxing trainer, as I say, Wayne Barker, he collected me from Ashton Police Station, a local police station to where I was. And he sat me down, and this is where it started seriously. So he sat me down in his office back at the gym, and he said, basically, do you fucking want to do this or not? Like, you either go that way or you go this way. I said, it's your choice. And then I realised, you know, what I was doing, you know, it was wrong. So I made that day, I had that conversation, I made that choice that day to dedicate myself to the sport and to leave all that behind me. So from that day going forward, you know, everything changed for me. Everything changed, mate. So sorry, mate, I forgot the question. What you said.
No, you're fine. I'm glad that you say that, because it's important to give that gentleman the credit. You know, people like that don't get enough credit. He clearly was a big influence on you, on making you realise that, you know, you've got options here, but ultimately you had to make the decision, mate, and you made the right decision. So you're now in the boxing gym. Yeah. Talk to me about how your week would be, and, you know, early successes. Yeah. So when I was from the age of 16, I basically trained like a professional, and that's one of the reasons why I turned pro so early. Because from the age of 16, like I say, Wayne Barker was training me, but I was sparring pros. You know, I was sparring some really high quality professional fighters, and I was holding my own and all that kind of stuff. And then the improvement has shown in a 6-month period was massive. It was phenomenal. And then we decided to turn amateur first. Okay. So from the ages, I turned amateur when I was 16. So I'd already been training for about 12 months. I turned amateur when I was 16. At the time, our club wasn't an amateur club, so I had to fight out of a club called Northside. I don't know if you've heard of that club. I've heard of Northside.
Yeah, it's a really, really successful amateur club. So I had 17 amateur fights. I mean, you know, if it was to go back then, I would have had another 50, but you know, it's happened now. But yeah, I had 17 amateur fights, so I was unbeaten. You know, and then I turned pro when I was 18. But yeah, I had a really successful amateur. I was unbeaten as an amateur. And then I turned pro when I was 18.
So 17 fights, 17 amateur. Do you think that's got something to do with the fact, was it your coach maybe that just said you're ready to go, you're ready to go pro here? There's a few things, to be fair. I mean, for one, the coach who was with at the time, Wayne Barker, you know, he didn't have any TV, you know, because to be successful in the sport, you know, you've got to have TV backings and all that kind of stuff. And maybe, I don't know, sometimes I think to myself whether he didn't want anyone to snatch me up or to take me away and all that kind of stuff. But I was ready. You know, if I could have the right fights at the right time, I was ready. I mean, I wouldn't change anything because it's happened now, and you know, it made me the person who I am today. But at the time, we thought it was the right decision. Okay. Yeah. Pro career debut, 28th of April 2006. Yeah, mate. Victory over Tommy Jones. That's correct. How was that? How did you hear about? How did that fight come about? How did you feel about it? Yeah, so believe it or not, I boxed at welterweight on that fight. I think it was like 10 stone 10. I have no idea how the hell you made welterweight, mate. You're what height are you? You're like 6 foot plus, aren't you? 6'3", yeah. Bloody hell. Yeah, 6'3", mate. So yeah, I mean, Wayne used to put small hall shows on at the Midland Hotel in Manchester. He put them on years ago, and he brought them back. And it was all based around me, trying to build me up. And so I topped the bill, having my pro debut, a 6-rounder it was, to be honest with you, at the Midland Hotel.
But the one thing I noticed, Shaky, is when I was an amateur, I was knocking everyone down, I was knocking them out. And the first thing I noticed, that the pro game is so different. The punches just bounce off these men. It's different. They say, "Oh, you'll knock them out with these small gloves on." It's different. You can tell that there's levels to the game, and even though that he was a journeyman at the time, you can tell
they're made. Journeymans are made tough as well.
Yeah, you can tell the strength difference. You can tell, and that's when I realised, okay, I'm not even a man yet. I'm still only a boy, and I could feel that, and I could. But luckily, I had the skill set to win comfortably. But the first thing I noticed when I turned pro was the strength and how tough these men are.
Well, you're still only at 18. You've still got a lot of developing to do in your own physical strength. I mean, they reckon. I'm not a scientist, but up until the age of 21, 22, you're still growing, you're still evolving. So, yeah, I can understand that would be a bit of a change going in with a man who I'd imagine had been around the ring, been in competitive pro fights. But you got over the line, then you had a couple more wins. So a great start to your career.
Yeah.
First bit of adversity came in your fifth fight, where you came up against Anthony Small. Now, Anthony Small went on to win the British title after this. So he was no mug, undefeated prospect like yourself. You suffered a second round defeat. Talk to me about that experience.
So that fight was. We got offered the fight. Now, it was very difficult to match me, Shaker. Very, very difficult. So even though Wayne was putting these shows on at the Midland Hotel, nobody wanted to fight. Because there was no TV, there was no Sky Sports or anything behind me. We decided we needed to take a chance. It was probably the wrong fight at the wrong time. It was just one of them things. But I thought I would have won the fight, but I got stopped in the second round. But again,
what happened? What did you make an error? Was it a bit of an inexperience?
Well, what happened is that Adam Booth was training Anthony Small at the time, and I don't know if you remember Anthony Small. He used to come out with the screen mask and all that.
Yeah, I do.
So I hit him with the right hand in the first round, and he'd gone. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't have the experience. Looking back now, I didn't have the experience to finish him. Mm-hmm. So the second round, he's threw this massive big overhand right, and it's hit me on the neck. It didn't even hit me on the chin. It's hit me on the neck. So I've got over. I've jumped back up, and the ref stopped the fight. And that was it.
So do you think you would have recovered?
Well, you don't know. You don't know, do you? How long's a piece of string? You don't know. I probably would have. But again, it was probably a fight too soon. Don't know. I mean, maybe some things happen. Everything happens for a reason. I could have carried on and got knocked out badly.
That would have been good.
Yeah, you just don't know. But again, I did want to fight Anthony Small after the prize fighter, which never happened. And then he ended up retiring and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that was the first defeat of my pro career. I mean, luckily it didn't damage me mentally. I was still obviously very, very hungry and very badly wanted to succeed, if you like. And then obviously I bounced back. A lot of fighters, it could damage them mentally, but, I was at that young age where it didn't kind of damage me. I was still hungry. I still wanted to succeed. And I just carried on.
Like you say, though, a lot of boys at that point could have easily fell off the track and just thought, that's a tough one to take. But you were obviously, you made that mind up when you were 15, 16 in that conversation. So there was no stopping you. And it's good to hear that didn't have a major impact on the rest of your career, which goes on to be a very, very successful career. You got back in the saddle. You had a win over Celo Rendu, which was a fight for the British Masters middleweight title. It was a 10-round victory. So that must have been the first experience of quite a long fight.
Well, again, I was still only 19-year-old, and again, it was probably a fight, probably one of them too soon. But you know, the fight happened again. Like I said, it was very hard to match me. No, who wants to fight a 6'3" light middleweight? Do you know what I mean? It was a difficult situation to be in. And again, if you've got no Sky Sports or big money behind you, you're gonna have to take these fights because nobody else wants to fight you. So yeah, it was back at Manchester. We boxed for the British Masters middleweight title at the time because nobody wanted to fight me at light middleweight. I had to go back. I moved up to middleweight to fight Cello Renda. Now I don't know if you know Cello Renda, but he's a big puncher.
Okay.
Massive. He's a massive puncher. I don't know if you've seen him. You would have seen him on.
I've not come across him. Where was he from?
Peterborough.
Okay.
Yeah. If you type him in on YouTube, he's been in some tremendous fights. He actually went to the prize fighter final. But yeah, so first round goes, and he hits me on the side of the head here, and he drops me.
Oof.
So I'm thinking, bloody hell. But I didn't feel it. It was just like a flash knockdown.
Yep.
And I jump up. Well, I stayed down for the 8 count. I just thought, I'll just stay down on one knee anyway. I jumped up. I mean, luckily for me, the fucking bell went. I thought, fucking great. Luckily for me, the bell went. So we've gone back to the corner. Second round comes out. I managed to obviously keep me composure, and I boxed his head off for 10 rounds. But for the first 6 rounds, that was a very, very tough fight. I mean, non-stop coming forward, very aggressive, big puncher. But yeah, that was a tough fight. But yeah, that was my first title fight at middleweight back in was it 2007, 2008 or something like that. But yeah, what a tough fight that was. But that was a great win, that, because at the time he was highly ranked because he was renowned for his big punch, big punch.
Must have learned a lot. Fight. I watch so much boxing, and you hear about boxers saying rounds is everything. Rounds is everything.
Yeah.
That must have really set you up for the next chapter, next stage of your career, because that sounds like it was a bloody tough fight to come to.
Oh,
you probably had to be on your A game throughout that fight.
Oh yeah, I remember it being very tough. But when we talk about people having tough fights and people having easy fights, I didn't have it easy. So when I had to fight, and I've been there before, I know how to fight. I've been through it. I've been through the tough rounds. I know what time of the round I need to take a breather, and that put me in good stead for later on. So being in that situation, in my opinion, helped me in the long run. Because you get some fighters today where they get it easy, they're walking through opponents, and when they actually come up against a good fighter and it's a hard fight, they don't know whether they know they can fight. How do they know? They've not been in, they're not dug deep and had to go in the trenches. But me at an early age, I had to do that. So it put me in good stead, and in my opinion, it helped me.
No, I think so as well. Too many boxers these days are too worried about the undefeated record, and like you say, when they get up to that certain level where they're in a proper fight, you do see a lot of fighters just not handle that pressure. So you've already at this point had some tough, been in with some guys that have gone on to be champions. So you were in the deep end. You had a tough time after that, where you had a fight over in Dublin.
Yes.
Against John Duddy.
I did, yeah.
How did that fight come about? And again, talk to me about the experience.
I mean, it wasn't a fight that I wanted, to be fair. It wasn't a fight that I wanted, and when I got over there, I just wanted to get back, kind of thing. It was, we had a bit of a fallout with my old trainer and stuff like that, and manager, and
what happened, if you don't mind me asking?
It just kind of, I didn't think I was ready for the fight. I was at a young age. I got told I was ready, so it kind of half made me believe that I was ready for the fight. But me personally, I just think it was a fight too far, and obviously I ended up getting well, you watch YouTube now, and I get stopped in the second round, but I didn't get stopped, Shaky. I went down on my own, and I've never said this publicly before. I actually went down on my own so I can get myself out of there and get back home, because I knew that it wasn't a fight that I should have been in. And that's basically what happened. You know, I thought I'll go down because I don't want to be here. I didn't feel like I should be here, and I went down, rest up the fight, and then went back home. And then we had a chat with my old trainer. You know, we didn't fall out or anything like that. He done really, really good things for me. You know, he brought me to where I was, and I really appreciate everything he done for me. And then we parted and we went separate ways. You know, and I thought it was the right thing for me to do at the time, to move on to a different trainer, different manager, have a fresh start, and then my career progress highly from there.
So who was the new trainer and the new manager?
So my new trainer, so I had a bit of time out of the ring, and then my new trainer was Bob Shannon. Okay. He's had some great fighters, likes of Kevin Anderson, David Barnes, Ali Numbembe, Denton Fissell, Matthew Hatton. He's trained Ricky Hatton in his last fight. So he was a very, very experienced fighter, and he was a man who got along with very well. He introduced me to a man who you'll know called Tommy Gilmore.
Yeah.
And Tommy come over from Scotland, and we had a meeting. I was 19 at the time, and he said I was too old. He was only joking, obviously. And then Tommy gave me a show on Sky Sports for the first time in my first fight. Yeah, on the undercard of I can't remember who it was now. It might have been, I can't remember who the undercard was, but yeah. And luckily, I stopped the kid in the fourth round and managed to get a slot on the telly. So, you know, it was a great experience. That, yeah.
I'm glad to hear. Yeah. I'm glad to hear you brought a Scotsman into the team. The great Tommy.
Yeah,
he's a good man, and that's how we actually became connected, because you'd come across, you'd watched you'd seen Tommy. Right, that must have been a blast from the past. So from here on out now, the career just goes from strength to strength. You had a really strong 2009 where you won most of your fights. I think maybe you suffered one defeat. And then in 2010, Tommy gets you the opportunity to fight in the prize fighter series.
That's correct, mate. Yeah. Going back to my old trainer, like I say, I appreciate everything he done for me. You know, he done wonders for me. He brought me into boxing, and he changed my life around. When I move over to Bob, I class myself as an unbeaten fighter, because I was a totally different fighter.
Yep.
And then we went from strength to strength. I think I had it was a draw I had with
Was it a draw? Sorry, yeah, don't want to give you a defeat that you don't have it. Sorry, pal.
Yeah, it was a draw shake I had with a fighter called Max Maxwell. He was fought a couple of times, but we'll come on to him a bit later. So I had a great run, and I had a draw, which shouldn't have been a draw, to be fair. Don't think the ref liked me that night. And then I remember we had a Christmas break, and then the prize fight was in the February. So we had about 8 weeks to get ready for that. But yeah, it was a great opportunity. Obviously, with Tommy working a lot with Barry Earnhardt at the time, you know, he managed to get me on the prize fighter. You know, I had a good record, and yeah, it was a great opportunity for me. But yeah, thanks, Tommy.
You went in as not like, I mean, you were always in a live opponent. I remember I watched this prize fighter, but like you've mentioned a few times, and we've talked about, you're a big lad for all these weight classes. You know, you're very tall and rangy at 6'3".
Yes, that's right.
So you were always a live opponent in this, but I don't think people had tipped you as one of the names to win it.
No, definitely not. I was a massive outsider, and you know, a lot of my friends won big money on the fights where, you know, on the big fights they had. But they're just going off previous fights. I mean, it's like, you know, when you're judging someone, or, you know, you don't know people don't know what a been doing for the last 12 months. They don't know me as a person. They don't know how I live, who I've been sparring with, this and that. You know, they're not with me on a daily basis. They're only going off what they've heard or what they've seen. So obviously that's why I was a massive, well, not massive, but I was an underdog. But me mentally going in, I was thinking, how can anybody at 5'8", 5'9", 5'10", they're not going to beat me over 3 rounds. There's just no chance. There's just no chance. You know, everybody's going to come forward. It's going to suit me. I'm just going to be popping them off, spinning them, turning them uppercuts, left hooks. And that's basically what happened, Shaky. I imagine it happened how I imagined it.
Quarter final, semi-final and final. Who'd you start with again in the quarters?
So I boxed a kid who I'm good friends with today. He's called George Hillyard. From Canning Town, very stocky, big puncher. Again, he brought massive following. But again, he was just one of them fighters where he's just going to come forward. Now, anybody who comes forward at me, they're either going to get hit with right hands, uppercuts, or turned. And that's basically what happened. You know, if you ever see the fight, he basically just got popped for 3 rounds. And
very hard for the people that size to get in on you. They would obviously, you've only got 3 rounds. So I'm imagining they would be trying to be busy. And like you say, fell into your hands. You were just able to box and use your skills. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, it's like the bull and the matador. I mean, if 3 rounds, if someone's coming forward, it's not enough time for them to break me down. And I knew that because obviously all the experience I've had, all the sparring I've had, the good opponents I've fought, there was just no chance that anybody would wear me down over 3 rounds. I just was that confident.
So you got over that. Was that a points win, that first one?
It was, yeah. It was a points win. I mean, I didn't need to go looking for the knockout, to be fair, because I knew that I would win the 3 rounds comfortably. You know, the first round I was a bit nervous, but then I grew into the fight. Second round I was very confident. Third round, you know, I kind of breezed through it. And then I ended up boxing the favourite in the second round, which was Bradley Pryce.
Yeah, I know Bradley.
Yeah.
So you come out of that fight, you're going into now to fight the favourite. You sound like you were ultra confident throughout this. Yeah. So do you go into that fight with no doubt?
Yes. So I obviously after the first fight, you know, my confidence is sky high. You know, I'm on a high. You know, and give it Bradley. You know, he is a big puncher, and you know, I used to think, well, it's only going to hurt if it lands. You know, and I was, you know, I stood next to him and I was thinking he's too small, because I think Bradley started his career out at lightweight or something like that, something or other. And I'm thinking he's too small for me. But anyway, I was oozing with confidence anyway from the Hillyard fight before. So when we got in there, I don't think you've ever seen the first round of that fight, but it was like a 10-8 round. I must have hit him with 50 jabs, and you know, he didn't land the glove on me in that first round. Second round was a bit more difficult. He hit me with a big shot. Didn't hurt or anything like that. Ed went back. And then the third round, he was tired. I think he had a tough fight with Neil Sinclair the round before, and I kind of breezed through that one as well, to be fair. But again, I was oozing with confidence from the fight before, from the Hillyard fight. So from that going forward, I was just so confident of beating him.
How was it like when you're coming out of the ring and now that's it, you're in the final now? How did you kind of keep yourself together, keep your head in the right space, because it's non-stop action in the prize fighter?
It is, mate. Yeah, you don't get much rest. I mean, to be fair, I got too much rest because I fought first, and then I'm waiting on the other guys fighting. I mean, I'd rather be in a few minutes out and then in and out and then back in. But obviously, I had to wait till the other guys was fighting. But the last fight I had was the toughest fight. It was very, very tough. Not because it was physically draining. It was more thinking mentally. You know, I don't know if you know the guy, Brett Flournoy, we were called.
Okay.
He was an unbeaten fighter, southpaw, and that's kind of fighters. I never got to grips with southpaws, just because I couldn't land the shots what I would do with kids coming forward. And normally southpaws are kind of counter punchers, and that's what he was. And it was a very, very tricky fight. I mean, in the third round, I really had to step it up and do something, but it was a tricky fight, that one. Very tricky.
So how did it was a long time ago. I remember you being victorious. Yeah. But did you win that fight on points as well?
It was points, yeah. So the first round was a draw. Because I couldn't find my range, he was kind of stepping out of range. It was a completely different fight to the other two. So the previous two, I'm on the counter. Mm-hmm. So the third one, it's a chess match now. Yeah, so it's a completely different fight. So apparently, from what the judges went off, the first round was a draw. I think he won the second. So I really needed to do something special in the third round. And I decided to go at him instead of waiting. And I went at him, hit him with the right hand, and I dropped him. So obviously I got the 10-8 round, and then won the fight, which was obviously that little special moment. Obviously turned the fight around.
Important that you realised that at the start of the third round. Because if you maybe went out and fought another chess match kind of round and not put it on him, you might have got the rough end. You might have got the wrong end of the decision. So great awareness.
I could see it coming, Shaky. I thought if I don't do anything now, it's not going to go my way. It's too close. It's far too close. So if I don't do something, then it's just not going to happen. And I mean, luckily I hit him with a right hand and a right hand again, and then he dropped. And I thought, he's give the count. So I got to 10-8 round from me. Then I got a little bit more confident after that, and was throwing more shots, and then I won the round anyway. But yeah, that little moment there, made me realise, I need to just do something here. I need to do something.
Well, that little moment there, those little 3 minutes there, helped your bank balance, gave you a nice big trophy. What was the prize money again for winning prize fighter?
At the time, it was 32 grand. So it was obviously it was my biggest payday at the time. It was nice. I mean, obviously, I wasn't thinking about the money until obviously afterwards. But it was nice to bag a few quid.
Did you any lavish purchases just to get out your system when you get that kind of money?
Yeah, I mean, I was into cars at the time, mate. I mean,
well, at least you paid for it this time.
Yeah, that's true, mate. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I was into cars at the time, and obviously being young and stupid, I used to spend money on cars like there's no tomorrow. But I ended up buying my first nice car at the time. It's a Honda Civic Type R in red. It was.
They were the ones, mate. They were the ones. Mate, we were loving them at that time.
It was the dogs back in the day, yeah. So I ended up treating myself to that. But that was probably the first purchase what I did, really, to be fair.
So your name at that point would have risen in stock. Obviously now you're going to get more opportunities. So were you still working with Tommy then moving forward as your manager?
Yeah, so I finished my career with Tommy.
Okay.
So I started it with Bob Shannon in 2009.
Yeah.
And then we ended it, I think it was 2013. So yeah, Tommy managed me throughout.
You never changed. So trainer and manager, like you say, that was a crossroad point in your career.
Yeah. So after the prize fighter, the draw I had with Max Maxwell just before the prize fighter.
Yeah.
Tommy wanted me to obviously revenge it, obviously get, put it straight. So I ended up boxing Max Maxwell again straight after the prize fighter in an 8-rounder, just to obviously avenge the draw, what shouldn't have been a draw kind of thing. So I ended up boxing him over 8 rounds and winning. Well, I must say it's one of my toughest fights. Tommy came up to me after the fight and said, "You'll beat much better fighters than him, but he'll always have your number." And I know what he means by it. Just some fighters just make it hard work for you, and you're drained, your energy is gone, and you just can't do anything with him. And he was just one of them fighters who had my number. I mean, obviously I beat him and boxed him and beat him up over 8 rounds, but the guy just kept coming and wouldn't stop. And Tommy said, you'll beat much better fighters than him, but he's just one of them fighters who's got your number. I was like, well, fucking don't put me in again with him.
Well, at least you know, at least sounded like you won the first fight anyway, but at least you got that one out of the way. And you know, it looks good in your record that you know you came back and put the draw decision behind you, and then you go into you had a big fight on 13th of May 2011, where you had the first opportunity to fight for the British light middleweight title against a good fighter in Southwark. Very well known fighter, very highly regarded fighter. How did the fight get offered to you? What was the preparation for it?
So the fight got offered to me because I boxed a kid before that fight. Tommy got me a good opponent called Mihaly Kotai, former world champion. I think he'd had 40 fights and won 36. So at this point, I was thinking, bloody hell, I'm in a fight here, really fight. No one's ever stopped this kid before, this Mihaly Kotai. So I boxed him and I stopped him in the 6th round. Wow. So obviously it's a high level opponent, that, and if you're stopping that kind of opponent, you know you're going to get some sort of opportunity. So at the time they made me mandatory challenger to box Sam Webb. So
that was like an eliminator then. It was almost like a British eliminator.
Yeah. So if I'm putting in a performance like that against that kid, that's who's got that sort of caliber, and stopping him where no one's ever stopped him before, that kind of. They've kind of said, right, you know, they just made me mandatory challenger to box Sam Webb, and that's what happened, and that's how the opportunity come around.
Now, winning the prize fighter was good, but I'd imagine you got in the game to be winning British titles, and you know, going on to try and win other things as well, European, etc. But this is your first. This is like that's a big fight.
Oh yeah, massive.
So how was your training camp leading up to that?
Training camp was great. I actually ended up going over to America with Matthew Hatton because he was fighting Saul Canelo Alvarez. You know, anyway.
I remember that fight as well.
Yeah, so because Bob Shannon was training Matthew at the time for the Canelo fight, I had gone over with them anyway. I wanted to get some sparring in the wild card, and was staying in a place called the Maywood Gym where there's no Mexican community, where there's some great gyms out there. So I ended up going out there for some great sparring, and that's where the training camp started. Well, it started really over in America. So we had some great sparring over there, and then we flew back, and I had about 5 or 6 weeks to get ready for the fight. But yeah, that kind of started it off for me really. So give me a lot of confidence going over to the States and sparring some great kids, and then coming back and just finishing the camp. But yeah, I had a great camp for it. Weather was nice. It was middle of May, I think, something like that. So it wasn't cold, which I didn't like. I don't like training in the cold. But yeah, it was everything went smoothly. Perfect for it. Weight was bang on. Ended up getting with Kerry Kays, who's a nutritionist, and you know he sorted my diet out and stuff like that. Because obviously I used to struggle making the weight, and being on the weight too long, and you know you have to do the weight right. You know, if you do it too long or too before, then you will feel weak and stuff like that. But yeah, training went well. Training went well for that fight.
Priceless experience, that mate. Being over, like you say, wild card.
Yeah.
Being around Mexican fighters. Yeah. I imagine that would have toughened you up and opened your eyes to, you know, what this, you know, the top level, and being around Matthew as well, who's training for a huge fight against Canelo, just must have been an amazing experience and inspired you, knowing that you're going into a big fight. Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, some of the people who was around over there, you know, like Oscar De La Hoya, I see Mayweather, Pacquiao, Amir Khan was over there at one point in the wild card. So Adrian Broner. I mean, so some of the people I'm watching training, and you know, just being in that environment just gives you confidence. You know, think, you know, I'm a part of this. You know, I'm going boxing Sam Webb, but you know, I'm in the middle of these people here, and you know, it just gives you confidence. You know, to go on and do well for your own career. But yeah, it was a great experience. You know, one I'll never forget, and especially Matthew won as well, because it was a great fight as well. It was a great fight. So you're going into this British light middleweight title fight from talking to you from start to where we are here, in a bloody good headspace. You're healthy. This fight is coming at the right time for you. You're good to go.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the fight was a long time coming. Me and Sam got matched a couple of fights before, but it never happened, and we waited quite a while for the fight. I think there was talks of him going on to fight for the European title and vacating the British, but he never did, and then come back to, then he wanted to fight me. So yeah, it was a long time coming, but yeah, I'm going there in there headstrong, fully confident that I was going to win that fight, and I was more confident when I seen him face to face. Especially at the weigh-in, because I'm a light middle. Well, I was a light. I was more of a light middle / middle. I could do middle, but I could struggle to make light middle. And I'm looking at him thinking he's a welterweight and he's tiny, and that's just giving me massive confidence because he wasn't a big light middleweight. He looked like a welterweight to me. Mm-hmm. So from seeing him again, so yeah, the training gave me confidence, but actually seeing him face to face. That just gives you confidence as well, knowing that you're much bigger than the guy. But he was a hell of a fighter, mate. Very, 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 very good fighter.
Well, it went pretty long. I think from reading it, did you stop him in the around the 12th round? But there was moments.
I stopped him
in the middle of the fight as well.
I stopped him in the 12th round, but I'll be honest with you, I couldn't hit him for 5 rounds. I don't think you've seen the fight. It was just his movement was incredible. His head movement, he's been in and out of range. It was very, very difficult to land clean on. And then again, going back to the prize fight, I said to myself in that same sort of moment, I need to do something a bit special there. I need to do something. I need to change something because for 5 rounds, whatever I'm doing is not working. I'm not getting hurt, but I'm not winning the rounds. And he's doing more movement and probably throwing shots at me, and he's landing on the gloves, but they're probably going to give the rounds to him. So I thought I need to do something. So the 5th round starts, and I thought I'm going to go to him. I'm going to right hand right over the top, and I did it. It was unexpected, very sharp, very fast. Bang! Hits him on the side of the temple here, drops him, and that just shattered his senses. He said I perforated his eardrum, so his balance was off and all that kind of stuff. And then from there, I mean, he still come back into the fight. It was back and forth and all that kind of stuff. But there, I was in control of the fight, to be fair, up until I managed to stop him in the 12th round.
You always strike me as a guy that's got more in your locker when you really need it.
Yeah.
You seem to pull out the bag when you're just in that. I need to do something here. You really had the power to hurt people. Yeah. I mean, you'll probably know yourself. You know when you're not doing enough, or you think something. I mean, a 12-round fight's a long time, and then there comes a point where you think, well, I've been doing this now for 5 rounds, and it's not working. I need to kind of stop him in his tracks, or just try something a little bit different. Because what will happen is when you're in that fight and you keep thinking about what you want to do, it kind of never happens, and the rounds go by and by and by. So you're thinking, well, what I've been thinking about I want to do for the first 5 rounds has not happened. It's not happened. So you need to do something else. So you need to catch him off guard, or do something what you've not done for the first 5 rounds, and maybe you'll catch him. So like I said, the 5th round started. It was a sharp one. It was a sharp 1-2, right hand caught him straight, bang, and that was it. It kind of ended him. But yeah. I'm one of them, who kind of knows he's got it there in the locker, and can switch it on. The Prince can turn nasty when he needs to be. 12th round. It sounds to me that punch changed the fight, and you pretty much dictated it from that moment on. And then you stopped him late in the 12th round. What a moment in your career, mate.
Yeah, best moment of my career, to be fair. I mean, to be honest with you, that fight should have been stopped a long, long time ago. I mean, the boxing, you had Jamie Moore commentating on it, you had Ryan Rhodes commentating on it, and Johnny Nelson, and it was all saying that fight shouldn't have gone on as long as it did, because it's one of them fights where he was just taking shot after shot after shot, and the accumulation of shots, what he must have been taking, it can't be good for you. But yeah, I managed to stop him in the 12th round. And obviously become victorious. But yeah, what a great night, and one of the best moments in my boxing career.
So how did remind me where that fight was, and how did the rest of your evening go after becoming a British light middleweight champion?
So the rest of the evening, we ended up going back to the hotel and having a drink with Frank Maloney. It's called Kelly Maloney now, but
That's right.
he was Sam's promoter at the time. So we was all taking the mickey out of him, saying, "How much did the ref pay you? How much have you paid the ref there? You know, to keep him in that fight, because that fight should have been stopped rounds and rounds and rounds ago." But yeah, that's what happened, mate. We just went back to the hotel, watched the fight on the telly afterwards, and just had a few drinks and that, and then headed back to Manchester the next day after.
You're on cloud nine right now. You must be now, just like you're in the best place you've been in your career. You know,
Yeah.
Title, all the hard work, all the dedication is taken to that point. How many fights did you have in between then, prior to fighting Brian Rose?
So Brian Rose was straight after.
Straight after, right? Okay.
Yeah, I had to wait a long time for it because I don't know what happened. I don't know whether they couldn't make the fight but it was one of them. I don't know. It's boxing politics. I didn't choose to fight Brian Rose. My first defense is a lad who you'll probably know, is Chris Calsler.
Yeah, Chris Paisley boy.
Yeah, so he should have been my first defence. And Tommy said he'd give me an extra X amount of pounds to go and box him in Scotland. So I went, sound, I'll box him.
Mm-hmm.
Sky Sports didn't accept him. They didn't know who he was. And that was that. That was the end of that. And that's why I ended up boxing Brian Rose. But as you know, in boxing, you don't always, it should have been a voluntary defence, but I'm the fighter. I just get told who I'm fighting.
Yeah.
But yeah, it ended up being Brian Rose. Now, I knew Brian Rose was going to be a tough fight, not physically and how strong he is, just because it would have been a chess match.
Yeah.
And it would have been a thinker's fight, because I've sparred him before. Not that I didn't want to fight him or I was scared of fighting him. I wouldn't have chose to fight him if from my first fight, because I knew it would have been a boring fight. It would have been close. It would have been, if and tuck and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I ended up boxing him. I'd done the weight entirely wrong. I felt ill on the night, no strength, and I ended up getting beat on points. And that was the end of that.
How are you feeling at that point? It's a kind of sounds like it's a bit of a. Sounds like your head was probably a wee bit all over the place, because you had a vision of what you were wanting to do, and that fact that wasn't one that you wanted to happen. Sounds like a wee bit of a tough moment, especially.
It was horrible, mate. It was the worst feeling in the world. You've gone from there to there in a few hours, and it's just like it felt like your life's just been ripped from you, and it was horrible. And yeah, it was a tough pill to swallow at the time. It was horrible because I believe I was the better fighter than him. It was just it was a bad night for me. I didn't feel right on the night. I mean, you could make all excuses under the sun, but I just still believe to this day that I was a better fighter than Brian Rose. I just had a bad night. He's caught me on a bad night, and I got beat on points, and I got beat off the better man on the night. But it was a tough pill to swallow, mate. And still to this day, it kind of, boxers will probably tell you, it still kind of niggles you a bit inside, even 10 years on. But again, you can't change what's already happened, mate. But it was a tough pill to swallow.
So what happens then?
So I decided to go to middleweight, just because light middleweight obviously was a struggle. I was champion at light middleweight, so obviously I decided to defend the belt. And then I went up to middleweight. I had a comeback fight. I think it was in Scotland, on one of Tommy's shows. Still can't remember whether it was Glasgow or Edinburgh. I still can't remember. Anyway, I think it was Glasgow, to be fair. But yeah, I ended up coming back on one of Tommy's shows. stopping a kid in the second round, Kieran Gray, I think he was called. And then I had another fight after that, a lad called Tyan Booth.
Yeah, I've heard Tyan Booth. Good fight.
Yeah, Tyan Booth from Sheffield. Ended up boxing him in Manchester. And then I got a call for first of all, I got a call to fight Nick Blackwell. I don't even remember him.
That got the Chris Eubank Jr.
Yeah, that's the one.
His career.
So Tommy said, I've got an eliminator for you, Nick Blackwell, which was always going to be a tough fight. Nick's a good fighter, or was a good fighter, should I say. And I didn't really fancy the fight, to be fair, because the money wasn't right. And then he rang me up a few days later and then said, I've got a European title fight instead. I said, what do you mean? I said, what for? Like the proper European title fight, not like this WBC, like European summit. No, the proper European title fight. So I went, right, sound, I'll have it. I said, scrap the Nick Blackwell fight. I said, the money wasn't great anyway. And then I got this opportunity to box in Monte Carlo, which was fantastic, yeah, for this European title fight. And that was the last fight I had, unfortunately.
What happened in the fight, mate?
So building up to the fight, I mean, going back to the Tyan Booth fight before, I injured myself in the fight. So I don't really know Tyan Booth. He's very long and very, he's very awkward. So yeah. I've had a bad shoulder for years, and I overstretched with him in that fight, and God, I've done something to my shoulder. Had a couple of weeks off the gym, and then got back in the gym, started sparring again, and my shoulder kept going, thinking, oh God. But in the time, I've accepted this European title fight. Now, it's not every day you get offered a European title fight. Do you know what I mean? I mean, to be fair, I wasn't even in the position to fight for it anyway. So, good job, Tommy. He's managed to pull it out of the bag and get me a European title fight. I think Billy Joe Saunders was seeing his ass a little bit at the time, because he was obviously next in line to fight for this European title. But we kept it all quiet, didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell anyone about my injury, didn't tell Tommy. Obviously, I just thought, I've had it for years. And I actually went to the fight injured, as you say. It was. I don't think
you'll be the first fighter. I don't think you'll be the last fighter to do that.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, it's not a kind of thing you turn down, because although I was injured, it's in the fight you think, oh, I'll just try and get through it. You know what I mean? But yeah, I went to the fight and I was injured. It was it was a great week there. Seeing some tremendous things, some great faces, met some really nice people. It was on the card of a world title fight, so it was a great show to be on. And it's something I didn't want to turn down. So obviously I went over there, and I got beat over 12 rounds just because I couldn't throw my left arm. But I do believe,
which is crucial for a guy like you, 6'3".
Yeah,
left arm jab is obviously where you control a lot of the fight. So yeah, it's been a tough 12 rounds.
Yeah, so it was a tough 12 rounds, Shaky, to be honest. Every time I threw my left arm, the guy could see that I was injured, so he'd kind of put it on me a little bit. And the rounds was going by. I wasn't doing enough to win any of the rounds. I wasn't getting hurt by any means. I just wasn't doing enough to win the rounds, because I had to keep my arm in, because I didn't. The injury was sore, and I got beat. I said to myself, I'm not getting stopped. That was my main goal in that fight, was to not get stopped. I said, I can't do enough, and I can't throw enough shots to win the rounds. I'm gonna win a few rounds, but just not enough. And then I thought, I'm just gonna get through this fight. I'm probably going to lose on points, and then I'm just going to get my shoulder sorted out, and we're going to come again.
So you may never have got that chance again. So I certainly don't think you maybe made the wrong decision. You got to if you hadn't taken that, then that chance might never have come. You can now sit here and say you fought for the title, you went 12 rounds. Unfortunately, you weren't at full fitness, but I think fighters it happens often. A lot of fighters have to, but it's not exactly the easiest of sports to be in. There's always going to be niggles, etc. So I think you were within your right to keep it under wraps and go in there and do your best. The aftermath of that is where was your head at that point, and where did things go from there?
Well, Tommy phoned me up after the fight and he explained to Tommy, I said, listen, I'm going to have a bit of time out. I'm going to try and get this shoulder sorted out. And then we'll come again in 6 months' time. You know, at the time I was only, 25, 26, so I was still young enough to come back and be involved in some decent fights. You know, there's nothing to say. I couldn't have come back and fought for another European title or win another British title. So I thought, yeah, you know, I'll get my shoulder sorted out. I'll have a bit of time out, and then we'll just kind of come again. But I had one operation, and straight after the operation, they said, "Oh, it's failed." I said, "What do you mean it's failed?" They said, "Well, we've sewn it. We've seen some damage. You've got some cartilage issues, so we've kind of sewn it up, tested it, but it's all just come away." So I said, "Bloody hell!" I said, "That's not good, is it?" I said, "You know, this is delaying what I need to be doing here." So I went, well, what happens. It's the risk you take when obviously you do any kind of procedure. So obviously I went back for another operation, which was the worst decision in my life, where they kind of cut me down here. So they cut right into the muscle. And that kind of ended things from there. You know, the recovery was horrendous. The amount of muscle I lost, the movement in my arm, the mobility's gone. And it was it was a bad mistake to have that second operation, especially open procedure. If I would have had the choice to go for sort of like a keyhole again, you know, I would have definitely took that route. But yeah, I went down the route of them cutting me open, and that just kind of horrendous. Yeah, it kind of ended things from there then.
That's the highs and lows of being a boxer. Eh? You can achieve everything you've achieved in the ring, and it can all come abruptly to an end due to injury. And that was pretty much that was the end of your boxing career at that age, which is sad, mate, because you were still a young man. It was another tough pill to swallow, because, you know, I mean, still till this day now, my left shoulder is not as strong as my right shoulder, even though I train I train most days. I probably train 5 times a week, and I still try and build it up, but it's never been the same. So for me to go back into boxing and to try and compete at that level that I was boxing at, I just didn't have the confidence. Yeah, I just didn't have the confidence. So yeah, I just thought, if I can't get to that level where I was at, boxing's hard enough as it is. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I want to be, if I'm coming back, I need to be at that level again. You know, I don't want to be fighting 6 rounds, four rounders. I want to be where I was, and I just didn't have any confidence in my shoulder that I was going to get back to that level, and that's kind of why I left it alone. To be fair, tough time of your life then, mate, because you only really knew one way from leaving school. You know, you were a dedicated boxer. You should be very proud, mate. You know, not many people get to do what you've done in the ring. You know, you've won titles, won a prize fighter, you fought European level. Yeah. I think sometimes amateurs think, oh, it's not a big deal to fight European and stuff like that. But only really the best fighters get to compete at that level. So first of all, credit to you, my friend. You know, achieved a lot in the ring. Yeah. But you're at a point now where a lot of boxers sometimes find themselves. You probably would have wanted that to be 6-7 years down the line, but you're now in a situation where, okay, I'm not going to be getting back in the ring to fight professionally. How do you deal with that crossroad, and what did you do with yourself?
It was tough, to be fair, mate, because you have to find a different path, don't you? You have to find a different route, what you've got to go down. So obviously you can't box anymore, and that's what I thought was just going to set me up for life. You know, I thought I'd earn enough. You know, I thought I'd have big fights, and you never see yourself getting injured and not being able to do it again. So, you know, it was another tough pill to swallow. I used to work for my mate's scaffolding company where I worked all the time anyway, and I wasn't enjoying it. I was becoming a bit depressed because of how I thought my life was, and then I ended up leaving that job, and I ended up selling cars, and that's what I do today.
This is like a full roundabout, mate.
It is, mate.
One way, you got to the middle ground, and then you thought, you know what, I'm pretty good with these automobiles. I should be selling these. Good for you, mate.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy what I do because it kind of when I sell a car, it gives you a buzz and it gives you a good feeling. It's like you're kind of winning again. And you know, we have, you know, I'm competing with the other sales guys. You know, I want to sell the most, and it makes you a winner. And you know, I'm very competitive, obviously from my background and what I've done before. And it's obviously commission based, so you know, it gives you that drive. And I think that's the kind of job I need to be involved in, kind of thing. You know, you have to be motivated, and I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it for the last 5 years. You know, it's given me some good money, and that's what I do, mate. Yeah, that's what I do today. You know, I still like to keep fit. I train most days, like I say, before work. But you know, I enjoy what I do. But I do miss the boxing. You know, I watch it on telly sometimes. I even shed a tear because it should be me. Should be me in them big fights. You know, sometimes I watch my old fights back and reminisce, and you know, it's kind of sad. But again, you can't change what's happened, and you've just got to kind of move on, haven't you?
Listen, mate, I think being sad is because obviously you felt like there would have been a lot of unfinished business that you still were more than capable to do. It's interesting today to speak to you because I watched a good few of your fights around that time, and I often did wonder, this guy just disappeared. You know, he was you know, young, fresh-faced, healthy, and now to hear, unfortunately, that you suffered an injury that you never really were able to recover from. It's kind of a bittersweet, but at the same time, you still achieved a lot in the ring. You should be proud of yourself. You've got something to tell the grandkids what you achieved, and good for you. I think a lot of sports people find sales. I certainly went that route as well after I played my cricket career. Kind of playing professionally came to an end. Sales because it gives you that buzz and that kind of competitive nature that you've got naturally to compete with other people. So you seem pretty content with life. You've got a young daughter. I see Snapchat. She seems to be keeping dad on her toes.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, she's called Ella. She's 6. She's actually here today. She'll be upstairs playing somewhere. But yeah, I have her a couple of times a week on a Monday night. I didn't even realise, mate, that they broke up now for 2 weeks. So I only realised this last night. So I was like, bloody hell. So everything I've got planned today, I've got to take her with me. But no, mate.
I know the feeling.
Yeah, she's great, mate. She's great. She's gorgeous. Yeah, she's great. She, again, it's come at the right time, probably after my career, where I can obviously just focus on her and not having to focus on anything else. So yeah, she's great, mate. She keeps you on your toes, but yeah, I love her to bits.
No, that's great to hear. What's your advice to a young 15-year-old out there, just like you, who's about to go into the gym? Also, from what you know about boxing and boxing politics, and I think there's a lot of good in boxing, but there's a lot of bad in boxing.
That's correct.
What advice would you give to a young girl or a young guy out there, because the times have changed. There's opportunities for women in boxing as well now.
It is, mate. Yeah, female boxing has come massive, hasn't it? These last few years. You know, you can't believe how many fights I know on Sky of women. But yeah, you know, and some good fights as well.
Very good
fights. Some great fights. But my advice is obviously to be humble. Know what you want to do. Set yourself some goals. Listen to advice, especially of people who are close to you and your family. Don't think that you know it all, and just trying to be be dedicated as much as you can, mate. You know, that's the main thing. You know, I see a lot of boxers, top boxers, who have not succeeded because they've not been dedicated, and they've just gone down the wrong path. So again, keep your family close to you, take advice, and listen to other people.
Great advice. Great advice. Listen, my friend, it's been a pleasure.
It has, mate. Yeah, it has.
To hear your story, hear your journey. Yeah. I wish you all the very best for the future. Maybe when my bank balance allows it, I'll come down and see if you can do me a deal on something nice. Listen, if you ever get up to Scotland, likewise, if I ever get down to Manchester, I'll be sure to give you a mate.
Definitely, mate. Yeah, it's been a pleasure. It's been nice speaking with you, mate.
Good man. Hang on for a second. I'll catch you. Cheers, mate.
Yeah.